What are you saying, ladies and gents? It is your boy Bucket Sam. We're back again today for another video. Today's video, we are ranking every single Premier League's team of the season so far, but we are only taking into account the Premier League. Let me preface that straight away before we get into this video. So we're going to go through all the teams and kind of discussing what we've made of their season so far. Let's get into it. Let's smash the like button as well and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, there's a few teams for me that are very easy. Southampton straight away. We're going to whack into D. They're currently on 9 points. Obviously, that's after the win they've just had against Ipswich this weekend. It's been an absolutely horrific season for them. Then Ipswich as well. We're going to also whack in D. Above Southampton. Southampton are going to be bottom no matter what. Leicester as well, but they're going to go below Ipswich because I think going into the season, they're both in the relegation zone. Don't get me wrong, and they've both had absolutely horrendous seasons. Like the two of them, obviously Leicester have got 4 wins, Ipswich got 3. But I think going into this season, there was slightly more expectation. I think there was slightly more kind of understanding that Leicester could have done a better job than Ipswich. So I think Ipswich has still also have had a very poor season. So they're all going into D. Next, we've got Nottingham Forest. Now, Nottingham Forest, for me, are going to go straight into S, into the top tier. They're currently third in the league with 47 points, which is absolutely mental. 14 wins and just 5 losses. But what I love about this team is just the togetherness. Every time you see them win, it's the kind of the reaction after the interviews with the players. You can just see they are so happy to be playing for that manager and to be playing together as a side right now. They are absolutely loving life. The whole team have been so deserved. So many players like Elanga, Chris Wood, Morgan Gibbs White, Milinkovic at the back, Marilla. There's so many players in this team that have been absolutely incredible. So for me, that's probably again one of the easier ones. So I'm going to whack them straight into S, and I'm intrigued to see how they kind of get on further as the season goes on. Next, got Everton. So Everton for me is going to go into C. Now Everton is a really weird one. Everton are obviously 9 points clear now of the drop zone off the back of that absolute thumping against Leicester. And you can kind of split the Everton season, sorry, into two kind of halves. You've got obviously the Dyche time, which would be a D, and then Moyes, which is probably a C going into B. Currently, where they are, you kind of expect them to be in and around there. That's normally the place you kind of predict Everton to be. But obviously, I do think under Moyes and with some of the investment that it looks like the club are going to get, especially going into the new season, into the new stadium next season, things they'll probably move on to be into that B category. But now, as a season as a whole, they find themselves in 16th spot. So yes, it's not horrendous, but it's not great. 16th, just ahead of the drop zone, isn't probably where they want to be. So C for me now. But Sean Dyche, it's a manager I do like, but you've just seen the kind of improvements under David Moyes have been astronomical. And yeah, you can see how big a difference it's been already. So they've got to go into C. Next, we've got Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, who find themselves on 30 points in 12th. I'm going to whack into B. Maybe push it. No, do you know what, actually? No, we're going to go B. We're going to go B. I think they've had a very solid season. And again, you can talk about with this Crystal Palace side, you can, again, similar to what I've just said with Everton, you kind of split the first half of the season and the second half of the season. Second half of the season, they've been showing form, which is out of this world. But then at the start of the season was absolutely dreadful when they found themselves right at the bottom of the table at the start of the season. It wasn't good enough. And we spoke about this so often at the start. And the way that the manager spoke, Glasner said that the club needed a sort of a bit of a humbling is kind of the way he described it. He said that the team weren't playing well enough. They kind of got too excited from the way they were last season. Now you're kind of seeing Mateta and likes of him really stepping up. Eze and other players, Muniz at right back. Look, you kind of look at this team and it's really together again. And mid-table is where you'd kind of expect them to be. So I think B is kind of just expectation. I think A is above expectation kind of thing. That's the way I'd see for Crystal Palace. I think they're having a good solid season. So B definitely. Next, got Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolves, I'm going to whack into the top of D. Now, they had an absolutely horrific start to the season. And off the back of that huge win against Aston Villa this weekend, they're now pushing away from that drop zone. They're currently 2 points clear. And personally, I think the bottom three is done now. I think with the fact that Cunha's just signed a contract as well, it looks a lot more kind of rosy and kind of everything looks a lot better now at the Wolves. Obviously, I know their form hasn't been great, but that win against the Villa was absolutely incredible and really helped them get a little bit of a gap. 2 points, as I said. It's not great, so we're going to be in D, but I do think they're safe. Next, we've got Brentford. Now, Brentford find themselves in 11th spot. A very weird team. We spoke about them quite a lot on this channel. Again, I'm going to whack them in B. I thought they were going to really struggle this season, but they've absolutely proven me wrong. Actually, do you know what? Yeah, no, I'll keep them there. I'll keep them there. A very solid season on 31 points, 9 wins, 11 losses. They kind of really need to sort out their defensive record, though. They've conceded a lot of goals, conceded 42 goals this season. I think that's been their biggest problem. They just don't get any clean sheets. But overall, it's still a very solid season. They're massively away from the relegation battle. So, yeah, got to whack them into B. Next, we've got Fulham in ninth spot, and they've got 36 points. I'm going to go in A for Fulham now. For me, the reason why Fulham are that little bit ahead of your Brentfords and your Palaces is because they are slightly ahead of them in the league and kind of performances wise. And again, expectation going into this season, not many people would have predicted Fulham to be exactly where they are in the league. I think they've been really, really intriguing side to watch. And what I quite like is the kind of, we spoke about going into this season, how would they fit players like your likes of Emil Smith Rowe into the side, and how would they kind of all fit in together? They've kind of been a bit of a vibes team. We spoke about that earlier on in the season with Anthony Robertson as well, bombing on forward. They're really enjoyable to watch. And I think they've kind of gone under the radar quite a bit this season, and it's a bit all over the place. They've scored 36 goals, conceded 32 with 36 points. I think it's a very decent season, isn't it? Really, for Marco Silva's men. Next, we've got Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth for me going to go straight into S, but I'm going to put them below Nottingham Forest. I don't think that as good a season as Nottingham Forest have had, but I think Bournemouth have been absolutely incredible under Iraola. 40 points. They've lost one in their last 5 games. They've scored 41 goals. What I really love about Bournemouth is their defensive record is absolutely incredible. They've only conceded one more goal than Arsenal. We speak about Arsenal's defence all the time, and what I love about them is you know exactly how they're going to play. We spoke about it when Iraola came in. He'd done it in Spain. He's very high pressing and winning the ball back in the final third, and that's why they don't concede many chances because they don't allow teams to ever really get out their own half. Really, really good side, and again they can push on for Europe. It's absolutely mental. They're 1 point behind Manchester City. They're only 3 points off Chelsea. It just shows you how tight it is at the top, and they've been absolutely incredible. So I would take my hat off to them. Just imagine I've said it. There you go. Metaphorically, I'm not actually going to take it off, but they have been absolutely incredible, and they're so good to watch. That's what I love about them. So they're definitely going into that top tier. Next, we have got Brighton and Hove Albion. Brighton and Hove Albion have got 34 points. They're in 10th spot. I'm going to whack them into B. I'm going to put them just below Crystal Palace. Sorry, just above Crystal Palace. I just realised I didn't mean to say that. Brighton have been a really weird side, and at one point in the season, you'd have had them in S, then you'd have had them in A, then you'd have them in C. They've been a bit all over the place, and I speak about it all the time with this Brighton side. I think the biggest consistency with them is their inconsistency. They concede so many goals; it is ridiculous. They've conceded 38 goals when they've only scored 35 with a -3 goal difference, which isn't good enough. But then they get battered one week and then you expect them to batter another team. They are so inconsistent, but that's the way they play. That's the way they are. And they're just a really confusing side. But again, really finding themselves in the top half of the table is an incredible season again. So I'm going to whack them in B, especially with the new manager coming in. Kind of expectations were a bit all over the place. Next, we've got West Ham. West Ham for me are going to go into D, and I think they go below the Wolves. Now, hear me out for my reason on this. Yes, I know they're 10 points clear of the drop zone. But going into this season, a lot of people spoke about West Ham and spoke about the fact that this transfer window would mean that this would be the time that West Ham would really push on and try and get into Europe, where it's been the complete opposite of that. Since obviously Potter's come in, they got a win, but they haven't really been playing too much better. But they've been, again, a really poor side. Considering how much money they've got, considering the squad, they're really massively underperforming in 15th spot. They shouldn't be 1 point ahead of Everton, really, let's be honest. So, yeah, I'm going to put West Ham into D. A side that I spoke about on this channel. I'm not doing like I told you so here. It was kind of one of those seasons, and it's very rare you ever see a club do an overhaul in the summer, sign loads of players, and it actually work out in the following season. You see it kind of benefit them in the long run, but you can think of the likes of, remember, Fulham came up, when Forest came up, when all these sides buy all these players, it's very difficult to just gel these into the team. So I think, yeah, we all got a little bit excited, but yeah, West Ham definitely into D. Next, we've got Manchester United. Now, Manchester United, I'm going to whack into D as well. I'm going to put them, though, in the top of D, because I think, again, this was kind of a little bit expected. We thought we were going to have a poor season. Yes, I know not they're 13th on 29 points. It's not great, but I don't think when we compare them to a team we're going to come on to in Spurs, for example, who they're both in a very similar situation, I think it was more so expected from Manchester United, and Manchester United have at least shown kind of glimmers. Yes, I know they're really underperforming, but you can see why. The squad just simply isn't good enough. So we're going to whack them into D. You can see it's quite crazy. Sorry, when you look at this, how heavy this bottom category is. Yes, but I know the teams we're going to get onto in a minute aren't really else going to be. They're not going to all be in there as well. But yeah, I think Manchester United are a really weird one. I think going forward, they've kind of benefited with the fact fact that they've not gone and bought and spent loads in this January transfer window. I think that will benefit them in the long run. And I feel like they're actually doing a reset, which we speak about all the time. They just need to backhammer him over time. And I think they will get better into a better situation. But I think, yeah, they've got to go in D. Next, got Newcastle, who find themselves in sixth spot. I think Newcastle has got to be an A. I think Newcastle had an incredible season. Another side that kind of seems to be not really be spoken about enough. Newcastle with 3 wins in their last 5, and they've lost 2 in that time as well. Scored 42 goals and again got a really good defensive record with 29 conceded. They've had some really big performances this season. Players like Isak really stepping up. Even you like to Jacob Murphy as well. But yeah, I think Newcastle had a brilliant season. They're most likely going to get a Europa League spot. I think that's probably a sensible prediction for them, which is an incredible season really. Because they missed out obviously with Europe last season. I think everyone was a little bit disappointed. So I think they've really kind of pushed on this season, just showing you that they are serious about being one of the big sides in the English Premier League. I don't know why I said English Premier League. But next we've got Chelsea. Chelsea find themselves in 4th spot. Now, Chelsea's a really weird one. Now, I'm going to still whack them in A, and I think they've got to go above Newcastle and Fulham. I think the top of A. But I think we've got to try and move aside the recency, because I think at one point everyone was talking about them being in a battle for the title. They're in a title race. I think we all got a little bit ahead of ourselves, and I think then we kind of saw the pressure kind of really hit this young Chelsea side, and you saw them really drop off. They went from being within touching distance of Liverpool and then dropping down to 4th, and now competing with your likes of Forest and Manchester City. But I think going into this season, there was a lot of question marks with Maresca. Could he do it with a bigger team? Could he do it with a team with a lot more egos? Could he do it with a Chelsea team with so many players kind of coming and going all the time? But I think he's really got a good system going. You can see what they're trying to do. You know the starting 11, and I think that's just a huge part. I still think with Poch, you couldn't really understand what they were trying to do, but I think Maresca's done a brilliant job, and the fact that they're comfortably in the top 4, I think is a really good start. And yeah, I think they've had a really incredible season. Next, we've got Tottenham Hotspur. Now, Tottenham Hotspur for me has got to go into D. Now, I'm going to say it's been a better season than you likes of West Ham's. Sorry, it's going to be a worse season than you likes of your West Ham's. I've just realised where I've put them, but not worse than the 3 in the bottom 3, because I don't think you can argue that. But yeah, Tottenham Hotspur currently on 27 points, 1 win in the last 5. The form has been absolutely dreadful, because the only win they'd had recently, other than the Brentford result on the weekend going into it, was I think they beat Southampton with the last result, which was back in December, which just shows you how poor they've been. They've really struggled. Yes, I know they've been plagued with injuries, but I speak about it all the time on this channel. I don't think that's an excuse, because you can see other teams have really struggled with injuries, but you've just got to kind of manage it and change the philosophy, change the style of play, and try and move things around. But Ange refuses to, and I think you've seen that with the performances. They've currently sat 14th in the league, which is simply not good enough. I thought they were going to make the top 6. Just shows you how poor a season they've had. But yeah, I still think when all the players will come back, they will probably come good. But yeah, a really poor season for them for definite. Next, we've got Liverpool. Now, Liverpool for me has got to go top of S. I don't think that's even a discussion. The 6 points clear at the top of the table, and they've got a game coming up against Everton, the Merseyside derby. They'll then be 9 points clear if they win that, which is absolutely incredible. Coming into this season, no one really knew how they were going to perform under Arne Slot, with the fact they hadn't made any signings as well. Everyone kind of had real question marks about how they were going to do going forward, but they've been absolutely incredible and deservedly at the top of this. I don't even think there's a discussion. Next, we have got Arsenal, and I think Arsenal realistically, I'm going to whack in the top of A. Now, hear me out. I don't think they're in S tier, because they're a little bit too far behind, in my opinion, to put them in the proper top brackets, because I think they're performing as a great season, which is why I put them in A. They're not having an incredible season. I still think they're yet to get going. I still think they can kind of come good, because again, I feel like their season, because we think about moments, we think about certain performances. I feel like that Manchester City performance was a moment, and I still feel like they're in this title race. And I still really think they're going to take Liverpool down to the wire. But I think they're just now, though, it's out of their hands kind of thing. They've just got to keep winning as they're doing, and to put the pressure on Liverpool, who just can't stop winning. So yeah, I still think they've had a very good season. Next, we've got Manchester City. Now, Manchester City, now hear me out, I'm going to whack them in the top of B. Now, some people will be going, what are you doing? Why are they not in D? I still feel like we've got this really weird narrative with Manchester City. I know there has been a drop-off, and they haven't been performing well, but they're still in European spots. Yes, I know it's a Europa League spot. They're currently 5th in the league, which I don't think is as bad a season as we expected. We just spoke about how well Chelsea are doing. They're only 2 points behind Chelsea. They're 6 points behind Nottingham Forest. They're 9 points behind Arsenal. Like, they can easily catch up with these sides, and they've made a lot of signings and things like that. I don't think it's as doom and gloom. Yes, I'm going to put them in B, because it's just it's like an okay season for them in their kind of mind. It's not a horrific season where I think it's like doom and gloom. Yes, it's not the kind of what we'd expect, but it's still not a bad season. Hear me out. Just hear me out. But yeah, that is my prediction for them. And then the final one, Aston Villa, who find themselves in 8th spot. I'm going to whack in to B. Now, going into this season, kind of this is where we all expect them to be. We all expected a little bit of a drop off, didn't we, from the Champions League? But they've been performing really well in the Champions League. But this is a Premier League kind of listing. The fact that they're in eighth spot, they're only 3 points off Bournemouth, 4 points off Man City. I think it's a very good season, really. That's why we're going to whack them in here. It's okay. It's kind of what we expected. But there you go. That is my Premier League every team ranked for how they're going to be doing this season. If you haven't already, please do smash the like button. Please do subscribe. As I keep telling everyone, we are going for 15k subscribers by the end of the year. Yes, it's ambitious, but I do want to get there. So please smash the like button. Please do subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Bucket Sam over and out, and I will see you guys soon. Comment down below your thoughts. Thank you. Goodbye.